Good afternoon. My name is Lois Tendler. I am Vice President of Government and Community Relations at New York City Transit. I will serve as the hearing officer for today's public hearing. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority is holding this public hearing to allow the public to comment on the environmental assessment, or EA, and Section 4F evaluation for proposed improvements to the 68th Street Hunter College station. To facilitate the public's ability to comment, the MTA has released the environmental assessment and Section 4F evaluation for the proposed improvement as required under the Council on Environmental Quality Regulations, Federal Transit Administration Regulations under 23 CFR Part 771.119, the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, of 1969, Section 4F of the Department of Transportation Act of 1966, in accordance with Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, the State Historic Preservation Act, SHPA, of 1980, Executive Order 11988 for floodplains, and Executive Order 12898 for environmental justice. The 68th Street Hunter College Station is located along the eastern edge of the Upper East Side Historic District on Lexington Avenue and East 68th Street in Manhattan. Based on 2015 ridership figures, the 68th Street Hunter College 6 station has the second highest average weekday entries and the second highest annual entries of any local station that is not part of a transfer complex. The station has an average weekday usage of 36,562 daily passenger trips. The 68th Street Hunter College Station is not usable by individuals with physical disabilities due to the lack of elevator access between the street, mezzanine, and platform levels of the station. The 68th Street Hunter College Station Improvement Project will bring the station into compliance with the Americans with Disability Act of 1990 and add necessary circulation improvements throughout the station. These improvements would include the installation of ADA-compliant elevators, widening existing stairs, constructing additional stairs and entrances, and other improvements. This environmental assessment and Section 4F evaluation have been prepared for the FTA by the MTA in conjunction with the MTA's request for FTA funding for this project. The FTA is serving as the lead agency for the purpose of the NEPA review, and the MTA is serving as the lead agency for the purpose of the State Environmental Quality Review Act. MTA New York City Transit has conducted outreach to the general public and held stakeholder meetings with specific interest groups to provide information to them about the 68th Street Hunter College Subway Station Improvement Project, including the environmental review process, the existing congestion at the station, the scope of the proposed project, the construction duration and the cost, and the street stair options identified in this environmental assessment. Their feedback, as well as the comments made this afternoon, the comments we receive in writing, and comments made through our website will all be considered prior to the FTA findings on the project and the subsequent decision on this project by the MTA board. The environmental assessment is located on the MTA website, the CB Community Board 8 website, as well as in their offices at 505 Park Avenue, Suite 620, New York, 1022, and at the East 67th Street Public Library. We have provided a hard copy of the environmental assessment in the foyer to this hearing room. In addition, one laptop has also been provided in the foyer to access the EA on the MTA website if anybody wants to look at it during the course of this meeting. Posters pictorially representing the project and its elements are mounted at easels in the foyer of this hearing room, as well as in the back of this room. If you have any written comments you would like to submit today, please drop them off at the information table outside. Customers are also encouraged to submit written comments via our website, www.mta.info, or by mail to MTA New York City Transit, 2 Broadway, 5th floor, room 5, B5104, New York, 1004. To promote this hearing, advertisements were published in the New York Post, El Diario, Amsterdam News, and Our Town. Notices on the hearing were posted on the MTA website, www.mta.info, on bilingual signs in local subway stations, and on Manhattan bus routes. They were also mailed to local elected officials and other interested parties. This proceeding is not an open question and answer session. However, there are New York City Transit staff at the table outside this room to provide information on the project. All spoken statements presented today, all correspondence, all emails and comments cards received by May 12, 2016 will be incorporated into the official hearing record and reviewed by the FTA, which will make a final decision regarding this project prior to the MTA's board's vote. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly explain the procedures for this afternoon's public hearing. First, I'll call the names of people who registered to speak in the order in which they signed up. If you wish to speak this afternoon, please fill out a registration form at the registration table outside of this room. For those who pre-registered to speak today, either via telephone or our website, we ask that you also sign in at the registration table. I will be calling out your names, one speaker at a time. When I call your name, please come to the podium. When you begin your comments, please state your name and your affiliation. So we may hear from all interested parties today. Your remarks should not exceed 3 minutes. If you run out of time, you may submit written comments to supplement your oral testimony. This hearing site is accessible to people who are mobility impaired. For the record, the date is Tuesday, April 26th of 2016, and the time is 5:08. The hearing site is the 20th floor conference room, 2 Broadway, New York, New York. We're going to start this hearing off with Mr. Nat Barranco of Urban Architects to present. We'll do a short presentation on the details of the project, after which we'll begin to hear from the members of the public who have registered to speak today. Mr. Barranco?
Thank you, Lois. The purpose and objective of this project is to do 2 things: provide accessibility for the disabled and relieve severe congestion, both at the primarily at the fare control area, but leading down also at the platforms in terms of egress. The existing conditions are such: the station is located under Lexington Avenue, primarily halfway between 69th and 70th Street, and halfway between and at the far end, halfway between 68th and 67th Street. From a community perspective, this station not only serves the neighborhood in terms of access to Lower Manhattan and Upper Manhattan, but serves the city in general in terms of providing access to 2 major educational institutions like as Hunter College and Marymount College, as well as a number of major hospital centers on the east side of New York. As Lois mentioned, it borders at the edge of the East Side Historic District. The station is primarily outside of the Historic District. Currently, there are 4 entrances at the street, one of which is within the Historic District. This is a photographic representation of the primary entrances. There is an existing entrance at Hunter College West Building, and an existing entrance is Hunter College East Building. There is an entrance alongside and adjacent to the Imperial House, and an entrance alongside and adjacent to the historic landmark Thomas Hunter Hall. Okay. This is the existing station with the existing mezzanine. The 4 Main Street entrances come into a single mezzanine, and all passengers must come into the station through a single fare control area, and most of the times concurrently with passengers coming out of the station for being discharged from the platform. There are 2 stairs down to each platform, and which occur about a third of the way in terms of the station configuration. There were a number of options explored, which are all in the EA, but this is a kind of summary of that. We've looked at no-build alternative. We've looked at a mezzanine expansion alternative. We've looked at a East 69th Street option. We've looked at an option which would explore the possibility of putting an entrance at 67th Street, option that would look at the possibility of putting an entrance on 70th Street. With respect to the 69th Street entrances, we looked at a number of entrances on the west side, minimum of 9, and on the east side, a minimum of 10. The result of that study, many of those options were either technically impractical, financially prohibitive, or just did not solve the problem with respect to egress and relieving of congestion. The preferred alternative has an accessible entrance at the east building of Hunter Thomas Hall, along with a widened stair to increase capacity to provide access to the east side and the existing bus that takes passengers to the east side. It reverses the stair at the Imperial House to provide movement for passengers coming out of the station who want to move towards the east side, and rehabilitates the northwest stair alongside Thomas Hunter Hall. The stair at Hunter College West Building is not part of this renovation or not part of the accessibility program or station improvements. It will remain as it is. In order to achieve, improve, reduce congestion, the recommendation is for two alternatives, two stair locations, one on the west side of 69th Street at the corner of Thomas Hunter Hall and 69th Street and Lexington Avenue at Hunter Thomas Hall, which is a new stair which leads us down to a control area, and a stair within the Imperial House building, which also serves the same function. You can see here the stairs come down from the street or from the Imperial House into a unmanned control area and then lead you down directly to either the southbound platform or the northbound platform. This is a rendering of what the entrance at the Imperial House will look like. It has been designed to merge with the architecture of the Imperial House, yet provide identity for the entrance of the station for the subway patrons. At 69th Street, the stair entrance will be a basic standard transit K-railing, which is appropriate for this type of station and for a historic district. This location and configuration was run through SHPA, and they had no objections to the approach that we took here. And finally, the elevator. This is a rendering of the elevators and the widened stair at the west building of Hunter College, which basically, again, takes their standard bulkhead elevator street kiosk, which is a transparent object, places it under the building of Hunter College West Building, and integrates it into the architecture of Hunter College West Building. And comments?
Thank you, Mr. Barenko. We will now begin to hear from members of the audience. Our first speaker tonight is David Kupferberg.
I think that the MTA this time is actively engaging the public as to how to expand the 68th Street Hunter College Station. As I just stated, it's not a question of if or when, but how. The current station and entrance area is obsolete and must be upgraded, not just to conform to current standards, but also to the Americans with Disabilities Act. The proposed upgrade of the current station entrance would greatly improve passenger circulation, but obviously a simple grade is not enough based on current and projected ridership. Personally, I favor the proposed project with option E1 alternative. This alternative, in my opinion, would yield the best overall community benefit, the best bang for the buck, simply based on what I call the intangibles. Based on the diagrams for this option, there would be new 69th Street entrances for both the northbound and southbound platforms. There would be a short distance from the M72 bus route, located 3 short blocks away. This option would encourage ridership by facilitating more bus and subway transfers. The proposed project with option E1 alternative would ensure that the 68th Street Hunter College Station would be a robust and well-used station now and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Pedro Valdez Rivera Jr.
Before I speak, it's Pedro Valdez Rivera Jr. for the record. Good afternoon, MTA. My name is Pedro Valdez Rivera Jr. I'm from Bed-Stuy and tend to support this ADA accessibility for the 68th Street Hunter Cottage, but you have to be extremely careful how you're going to do the final designs and how to construct it. Because again, the 68th Street Hunter Cottage station is near a Upper East Side historic district, and many people across the historic district of the Upper East Side worried that would change the historical character once the station has been changed and renovated. So there are thousands and tens of thousands of residents living there, and they have addressed their concerns about it. So my recommendation is to put all the elevators, all the new entrances outside the district, so we avoid any conflicts. That's number one. Number two, why make it more, in terms of the turnstiles, why make it more, adding more low turnstiles? Because you know Hunter Cottage is a very busy college, like more than 20,000 students, undergraduates and graduate students every semester, full-time semester. And there's a lot of faculty, and also a lot of people live there also. And now in the considerable future, there's a lot more people going to live there outside Hunter Cottage, and a lot more people are taking the 6 train towards the Hunter Cottage across the city. And I talk about residential development, particularly from East Harlem, downtown Manhattan, Brooklyn, and the Bronx in particular. And finally, also, and one on a off topic, any stations, new stations that have ADA complement, make sure you open all those old station entrances, because if the ridership continues to go skyrocket, it continues to go up. So why not open the closed subway entrances in particular Manhattan? And I know you did a lot of public outreach on 68th Street Hunter Cottage, and I applaud for that. And what if you go to other stations that are very busy and then make an ADA complement across the city? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is David Paul Gerber.
Good evening, everyone. I haven't read the full EAS about it, so I can say that a couple things to know. The 68th Street Hunter College Station was rehabilitated back in 1982, 83. I remember that as a kid during the construction. I believe some expansion to one of the entrances, the entrance on the southwestern corner there was done later on. That said, the ADA accessibility is long overdue. Whatever the MTA will priority this project is another thing here. Because what I would like to see the MTA do is to at least consolidate the project with something else if necessary. Right now, to take an example, M riders in north of Military Avenue are screwed because stations along the M line, particularly Central Avenue and Knickerbocker Avenue, were closed for station renewal, I believe, about 2 or 3 years ago. Now they're going to be closed again for 9 months, for up to 9 months. What the MTA needs to do is to rehabilitate the curve along Military Avenue just east of the station. Priorities, priorities, priorities. The MTA needs to look at the priorities itself. I think overall, I haven't read much of it, but I think it's a good step, it's a good idea, and it's a good step forward to finally, after all these years, since the 1990 ADA Accessibility Act went into effect, to make Hunter College accessible to students of Hunter College, Mount College, Town Unlimited High School, I believe, is nearby. There are several hospitals also within walking or bus distance down to York Avenue. and as well as the residents of the Upper East Side who wouldn't have any, who also will also benefit from the Second Avenue subway if and when it opens December 2000, this December. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm sorry, one other thing. The MTA should also be held to be truthful about the EIS, because sometimes they have a habit.
Our next speaker is Jason Anthony Panera. Oh,
They have a habit of providing false information.
thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Anthony Panero, please.
Good afternoon, Lois. Nice to see you again. This time, my comment will be in favor of the 68th Street Hunt College expansion. I think that the 69th Street entrance is a good idea, finally, but we should have it just like the 68th Street entrance, accessible for both Brooklyn Bridge bound and Pan Bay Park bound trains. And the elevator is a good option too, because we have Cornell Hospital nearby. We have Hunter College right there. And we're seeing the results in 23rd Street that they're installing the elevators there too. That's a good idea. So that's all my comments tonight, Lois.
Thank you for your comments. Our next and last registered speaker at the moment is Omar Vieira. If there's anybody in the room who has not spoken and would like to speak, I would encourage you to now go out and sign a registration form. Mr. Vieira.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'd like to express again my support for this plan to make 68th Street stop ADA accessible. I myself am a Hunter alum. I attended Hunter between 2010 and last year, having graduated last May. I believe that the service change is necessary because, like I said, it reinforces the ADA of 1990, and it also gives people more options how to enter or exit the station. And that is, we're supposed to be moving forward. And thankfully, we finally ignored the NIMBYs, as the Second Avenue Saga's website describes them, and start basically focusing on what's actually for the city. Now, like I suggested, and like what Jason suggested before, it's a great idea for both sides, for both the southbound and the Pelham Bay Park bound. Hopefully, maybe one day the 6 can get extended to the loop station at South Ferry, but that's another debate. Point being is that for a major subway stop that has a connection to major CUNY Senior College, say within the CUNY system, it's totally necessary that we update the 68th Street stop. It's this should also improve the Lexington Avenue line, as is currently beyond maximum capacity, and that the long overdue Second Avenue subway should be ready soon. I'm also happy that at Lexington Avenue 63rd that they're opening up another elevator and more entrances for when the Q train starts running through by the end of the year. But anyway, that's my comments, and thanks for listening, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, Omar. Marcus, you want to see if she has anything else then? It's 5:25 now. There are no speakers, nobody registered to speak at the moment. The hearing remains open till 7 o'clock, so we're going to go into recess now, and we'll come back into session if more people come to speak. Thank you. We've been joined by another speaker, so we're going to go back on the record for a minute. It is 6:20, and Juan Castillo is here to testify. That's fine, you could.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the time. I'd like to express my opinion about the 68th Street Hunter College stop being made into a ADA accessible key station to be accommodated with the elevators that will eventually take place sometime like a year or two from now. I also want to reply about how they're also gonna get a new 69th Street entrance on both sides. Recently I followed this story for like a few years because there was this article I looked up online about the protest of how the 68th Street entrance stop would hurt the residents on the Upper East Side, and that it would hurt many commuters out on how the renovation is going to look like. Also, for the 68th Street stop, there's a mezzanine. There's an entrance that leads you straight right into the Hunter College stop, the building. Well, I'm pretty sure there's a good chance it's most likely accessible by an elevator in one of those buildings. Where it could be, there's also a good chance they should build like another elevator on the southeast corner of Lexington and 68th Streets as one of the key stations. I also want to reply that there should be another key station that should have elevator service at its own stop. As I mentioned, I wanted to see like the Fordham Road, the stop on the B and D line to have elevator service. The reason why that's because back up in Fordham Road, Grand Concourse, there are two entrances on the two eastern corners, which they only lead down to the Uptown B and D local and the Bronx Express D train service on the middle track. Yeah, completely walled off from the far left side, which the Manhattan-bound local train service would be at. So if there's any possibility, we could consider reopening the west corner entrances to the Fordham Road B and D train stop in the Bronx. Maybe they will create the entrance to now lead you straight down to the Manhattan-bound, the local trains at the Fordham Road stop. Also, is it possible we had an elevator or both an elevator and a ramp? Like I said, I don't know if you heard this. I had a blog on the NYC Transit Forum site how each ADA accessible subway station can have more than just an elevator. They could also have like a wheelchair ramp or a special handcrafted wheelchair accessible escalator that can accommodate each disabled customer that uses a wheelchair or a walker. In closing, I also want to see the Mets Willets Point stop on the 7 line ADA accessible because the wheelchair ramp is only open during game days and other special events only. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. It's 6:25. There's no one currently registered to speak, so this hearing is again recessed. We'll come back. If nobody else comes to speak, we'll come back to close the hearing at 7 o'clock. It being 7 o'clock, there being no further speakers, this hearing is now adjourned.